In this one, we're going to talk about getting your car winter ready. All the different things you should be doing to just be ready for the road conditions and the weather and everything else. Keep watching. Right, so first thing we're going to look at are some basic checks to do on your car. Let's have a look at that now.
So in weather extremes, a lot of people choose to go for winter tyres. I feel like all season tyres are a good fit for this country. Remember that your tyres are the only part of the car that actually contacts with the road. As well as checking your tyre depth, you should also be thinking about things like cracks in the sidewalls and just the age of the tyres. Tyres get hard over the years and therefore less grippy. I've recently picked up a set of 4 tyres from MyTyres, including local fitting, for just under 500 quid. So the first thing to do is give your tyres a good inspection, and then with the help of a little tyre depth gauge, which are very cheap, there'll be a link in the description, pop that into the deepest part of the tyre tread, push down, take your reading, and then you just check. And you really want to make sure you've got at least 3mm on your tyres. That's well above legal limit, but really when you're below 3mm, it's getting time to maybe give them a change. Next, it's time to get under the bonnet, and you want to make sure your coolant level is where it should be. So you can see there's a little marker, and I'm right in the middle there between minimum and maximum. So make sure you've got the right coolant, make sure you've got the right level of it. Don't ever open the coolant bottle if the engine's warm. It's highly pressurised and you could have a nasty accident. Next, the windscreen washer fluid. You want to make sure you've got a good quality washer fluid. Some good quality washer fluids have de-icing capabilities. Consider using one of those and keep that topped up at all times. And then just check your battery terminals. Make sure that the terminals are nice and secure. Cold temperatures are quite hard on batteries, so you want to make sure you've got the best connection you possibly can. You can also pop along to Halfords or somewhere like that, and a lot of places will do a battery check for you for free.
There are a few things I didn't mention in there. Obviously, if you're going under the bonnet, just check your oil as well. I mean, you should always be checking your oil, and if you do need to top up like your coolant or your oil, make sure you use the right one. Just refer to your owner's manual. Another really important thing to do in the winter is to keep your lights clear. And if you've got cloudy headlights, get yourself a little restoration kit and just clean those up. Always make sure they're clear of any dirt or anything like that. Because in foul weather, particularly if you get snow and stuff like that, A, you need your lights to see, but B, you want other people to be able to see you. Very important to keep your lights clear. By the way, as we go through this, any links to anything I'll stick into the video description, so you've got links there to Amazon where you can go and pick them up. Next, we're going to look at a few things that you should probably keep in the car, just because it makes sense to do so in the winter. If you're out and about and you need to clear the car, if the car breaks down, all those kinds of things. There are a few really easy sort of little essential items just to keep in the car. Lots of them are very cheap. The first thing you're going to need is a really good ice scraper and maybe a brush, just so you can keep everything nice and clear. So your screen clear, your lights, your wheels you might need to brush a load of snow and gunge out of. Just a very simple little brush like you get with a dustpan and brush is totally fine. You'll get one in the pound shop. And an ice scraper. Again, you can get one of those in the pound shop, but you might want to get a slightly nicer one. I certainly have quite a good one in my car. Another thing which you might think sounds silly, you want one of these. Just stick a woolly hat in there. Again, you can get one for a couple of quid. This is a thin silhouette one. I mean, you can get a woolly hat for a couple of quid. And if you do break down, you need to keep your body heat in. I got stuck in heavy snow just outside Sidcup on the M25 quite a few years ago now. But it was terrible, like it was really bad. Lots of people spent the night there and quite a lot of the following day. 2 people actually died in their cars that night, and it was terrible. I kept quite up to date with things on my phone. Luckily I had a phone charger in the car, another good thing to have in your car. And I kept up to date with the situation and found a way that was not so horrendous. And I got home just outside of Bournemouth in the end from Sidcup. I think from the time I decided to try and get home to the time I actually got home, I think something like 16 hours had passed. As I said, lots of people ended up just spending the night in their cars, and a couple of people lost their lives. I mean, that's awful. And I had nothing in the car that night, and I've sort of changed my ways ever since. So stick a woolly hat in the car, stick a pair of gloves in the car, and put a blanket in the car. It can be any kind of blanket. If you don't have a ton of room in your car, get one of those foil ones, you know, like you see at the end of a marathon where they stick the foil over. You can buy an emergency foil blanket, very cheap, They take up no space, and if you're desperate, that may just keep you alive. Obviously these things don't happen very often, but if they do and you're one of the unlucky ones, it can be very, very serious. But if you have nothing else in the car, cheap pair of gloves, cheap hat, and a blanket of some kind. Other things to make sure you've got a warning triangle. If you break down and you're stuck, especially in snow when people need crazy stopping distances and it's very, very difficult to see cars that are parked up, particularly if the power's gone out and you can't have any lights on, then a warning triangle may save your bacon, may save a nasty accident. Always good common sense to have a torch in the car, maybe one of those emergency strip light torches, and just a couple of bottles of water, you know, you just never know when you're going to need it. I always also suggest having a high vis in your car, not just for in the winter, but for any time of year. One of those little high vis waistcoats, again, you could probably get one in the pound shop or on Amazon or something. They only cost you a couple of quid. And if you do need to get out of the car by the roadside, particularly if it's very dark, weather conditions are not great, you want to be seen as early as possible by any traffic that might be coming your way. So with the tyres, I went for all season tyres rather than winter tyres. To me, all season tyres are well suited to UK roads. We don't tend to get the absolute extremes of weather, but we do get, you know, a few weeks every year nowadays where we seem to get snow and ice, depending where you are in the country. Obviously there are parts of the country that get worse weather than we do down here on the sunny south coast. But where I live, certainly the all season tyres make sense. Some people choose to go for winter tyres. The thing with winter tyres is they're not really great on the roads in summer. They'll tend to wear down fairly rapidly. So a lot of people with winter tyres tend to have two sets of wheels, or they keep the tyres somewhere and have them swapped over and then have the summer ones swapped back on. What I wouldn't recommend anyone does is goes out and tries to drive in icy conditions or really cold conditions with summer tyres on the car. It just doesn't make good sense. Even if you've got four-wheel drive on your car with all season or winter tyres in those months, a massive, you know, massive improvement. One final thing that some people choose to keep in their car, I certainly don't, but it's not a bad idea, is a little compact snow shovel, just in case you need to dig your wheels out if you lose traction and you need to dig your wheels out or anything. They're very small, usually about that big, and then when you sort of pull the handle out and it gets to about that sort of size, they're very, very small, don't take up a lot of room, and it probably makes good practical sense. I just haven't done it. I'll put a link in the description to, there's a kit that the AA do actually, which is a high vis, a little snow shovel, and I think a foil blanket, but don't quote me on that. I'll put a link to that in the video description, because you might find that useful. So that's it really. We don't have to be scared of the winter by any stretch of the imagination, and most of the time you're sort of beating inconvenience. But this personal safety stuff, I strongly recommend just having a hat and a pair of gloves and a little blanket in the car, because if you do ever get stuck, and I have been stuck before, it is bloody scary. Have a few bits in the car just in case. It's not a bad idea. Hope some of you find that helpful. Please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. And check this video out, because maybe you'll like it. Thanks. Bye.